This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. This is a sponsored message. I've been using Anchor as my podcast host for a while now, and it's been a pleasure to use. Anchor offers benefits that most other hosts do not. It's free to use, but it also has a collection of tools that allow you to create a podcast completely within the Anchor website or smartphone app. They distribute your show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other distribution channels without any additional effort on your part, and you can make money from your podcast without any minimum audience size. So you can use it as a more traditional podcast host like I do, but it's also got everything you need to start a podcast from scratch. If you're keen to give it a shot, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Friday, October 14th, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From Reuters, Saudi Arabia and United States clash over reason for OPEC Plus oil cut. A recent decision to cut oil production by the oil cartel, OPEC Plus, has not been well received by the U.S. government, which seems to be interpreting this decision as an indication that ally Saudi Arabia is siding with Russia, as cutting production will likely increase oil prices, which would boost Russia's fortunes while harming energy-starved Europe. The Saudi government has responded by saying this was purely an economic decision, as it will help them, too, to have higher gas prices, especially heading into a period of projected global recession, during which time it's likely oil demand, and thus oil prices, will decrease. But there's momentum in both major U.S. parties to punish the Saudis for what they're framing as disloyalty in the midst of an important conflict. And U.S. President Biden said earlier this week that there would be consequences for U.S.-Saudi relations as a result. From Axios, Kiev hit by Iranian drones as Russia targets dozens of Ukrainian cities. A successful attack on a strategically and symbolically important bridge connecting Russia with Russian-occupied Crimea last week has led to a surge of new missile attacks from Russia against Ukrainian targets, including targets in the Ukrainian capital and many civilian targets like parks and apartment buildings. These missile attacks, and attacks made by suicide drones recently purchased from Iran, have killed a few dozen people and brought the war back to parts of the country that have been able to return to something like normalcy over the past few months. In the wake of these new attacks, Ukraine's allies have committed to providing more and more advanced air defense systems to help them more capably deal with both missiles and drones in the future. And from the Associated Press, ACT test scores dropped to lowest in 30 years in pandemic slide. This year's U.S.-based high school graduating class has posted the lowest ACT scores since 1991, achieving a composite score of 19.8 out of 36. The ACT is meant to demonstrate a high school graduate's academic preparedness for university in key subjects like reading, science, and math. And though this composite score has been decreasing pretty steadily over the past several years, the pandemic and all its associated stresses and education disruptions is thought to have dealt some serious damage to students' academic growth. So this will likely serve as one more data point in favor of that argument, despite concerns and claims that the ACT and similar tests don't actually do what they say they do, and are biased toward some individuals' backgrounds and ways of learning and thinking. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com. And you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.